And now, has everyone had the opportunity to meet Pat Callahan?
I've met quite a few right from there, yeah. Many as I could, so. And I'm gonna have everybody, I'm gonna go around the table and have everybody kind of introduce themselves for me, so, I think the very first thing I'm gonna do is have you go through the agenda, and, everybody should have a copy of the agenda, and I just kind of give you a quick overview of what we're gonna do tonight. And, after we, do the introductions, after I finish the introductions, as I warned you in my memo, and hopefully everybody read my memo, is I challenged the council to say, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered in this role at this time as a council member? And so I'm going to come back to that after we do the introductions. And then the other thing we'll do is then we'll go right into the exhibits that you all got. Exhibits A and B were the major accomplishments that you've identified. And I basically have two questions when we do that. Did we miss anything? And did you see anything on the list you said, I don't know what that is. Could somebody explain it to me? And we'll do the same thing on the issues and concerns and trends. That's exhibit C and D. And same two questions then. And then we'll get into the real purpose of this meeting, and that is number 5 and 6 on the agenda. We are going to go through the policies, procedures, items that have been identified that are not bricks and mortar. They're not going to require necessarily a lot of money, but they're going to require some time and effort on your part and your department heads. And we will go through those one by one. We will identify which ones maybe you've already committed to. And there's no sense in voting on it if you've already said you're going to do it. So I'm going to put them on what I call my list of givens. So as we're going through those, and you see one of those, you think, hey, we already said we're going to do that. We voted on it, but that's a given. We're going to do it. So you let me know that as we go through them. If we got duplication, we'll take care of that as well. Then we're going to do the same thing on capital projects. Go through those lists, identify ones that maybe have already been committed to, and then once we've identified those, we're going to do a ranking process on both lists. We'll actually do the programs and policies first. And the way I do this ranking process is I typically give the mayor and council some dots. And I've got all those items on big sheets of paper that I will put up in the wall. And you step back and say, of all these items, these are the top 5, or these are the top 6 in my opinion. And so you will have a sticky dot, and you will put a dot on those items. And we'll talk about how many dots and the different ways of doing it, because there's about 3 different ways I've done it over the years. And so we'll go through all that with you. I've got a little handout that kind of talks about what we do when we do the dot process. And then the last thing we'll talk about is how you get along with each other. How do you communicate? Is there anything we could do better in terms of the interaction and communication with each other, the department heads, and our citizens, the people that pay the bills? So that'll be the last thing that we'll do. Any questions on the agenda, or is there anything you said, boy, we're missing something, we should do this? Did anybody see anything that you thought, hey, we need to talk about that? Okay, good. All right, just by way of introduction, for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I was born and raised over in Dubuque County. In fact, I still live over in that area. I live in Anamosa now. But I grew up in the town of Cascade. And went to high school in Cascade. And I always tell people, if you've never heard of me, you've probably heard the name Gary Dolphin. I'm sure a few of you know who Gary Dolphin is. He is the voice of the Hawkeyes. Well, he was a class behind me, so I can tell you he's 72 years old, and I'm surprised he's still doing this. I'm 73 and still doing it, though, I guess, but I don't know how he keeps doing it, but I always tell people, just one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet, and but he was not much of an athlete in high school, but he sure could talk, and he still can. But from there I went to Loras College, then I went to the University of Iowa, and then my first job right out of school was in Fort Madison, Iowa, where I was in the Public Works Department. And then from there I went to a little town called West Point as city administrator, and from there I went to Maquoketa as I was city administrator. And while I was in Maquoketa, I did that for 14 and a half years and decided I got to do something different. this job is driving me crazy. So I made a shift and went into consulting, and it was just kind of a leap of faith. And by the time I did that, Tim Shields at the Institute of Public Affairs called me and said, boy, I could use somebody on a part-time basis that you're interested. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity to work with Tim. I don't know if you know him, but he was kind of the guru of goal setting in Iowa. He did so many of these with cities around the state. And this is where I learned the process, and I kind of tweaked it a little bit from what he was doing. So from there, I went to Anamosa, where I live today. He's like, well, why did you end up in Anamosa? Well, I did some checking on my IPERS, and I needed to go back to work for a city for 4 or 5 years to build that IPERS base up. And by the way, department heads, it's one of the best benefits you've got is IPERS, okay? It's probably a great motivation to stay in city government, because eventually if you stay here, you will eventually get an IPERS pension, which is wonderful, because it certainly has been a big plus for me. So that's a good thing that you realize that, and if you ever leave IPERS and you're not ready to retire, and you're not old enough, don't take your money out. Because I left IPERS for a while and didn't take my money out. Thank goodness, because it was still there, and then I went back and built the base up, and then drew the pension. So anyway, I did that for 4.5 years, and then went back into consulting. Now, if you notice, I told you I started my career in Fort Madison, and then my last city job was Anamosa. What do those two towns have in common? Maximum security penitentiaries. I don't know why it ended up that way, but it did. I will share one story with you from the penitentiary that I learned when I was on tour, and then we'll get back to the meeting here. And that is, I asked the warden at the end of the tour, are there any prisoners that, you know, that are always remembered that you never forget them? And he said, oh yes, there's one that we'll never forget. And I said, well, tell me about him. He says, oh, everybody loved him. The inmates loved him, the guards loved him. And back when he was here, we had a policy that if a guard would step up and say, I will take responsibility for this inmate, and I will take him out of the institution, and I will make sure he gets back, you know, at whatever appointed time he's supposed to be back. So this one particular inmate was so popular with the guards that he was going out all the time. And the reason he was is because when the guards' children had birthday parties, he would dress up as a clown. And the kids loved him. And he was so jovial and happy, and he was a great asset at all the children's birthday parties. Well, he did that for a number of years, and then he was released, and he was paroled, and he moved to Chicago. Anyone want to guess who that was? John Wayne Gacy. A beloved inmate in Anamosa. So that is my one inmate story. So with that, let's get back to the task at hand here, and that is I'm going to go around the table and have everyone introduce themselves for me, and basically tell me, you know, what your position is, and basically how long you've been with the city, or in whatever role, council or department head, just how long you've been actually with the city. So I'm going to start with Tammy.
Oh, Tammy Stark. My role's on city council. I've been on for 11 years.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly.
That's great.
Well, also, you know, Riley Fluhoff, 1 year,
1 year.
city council.
Okay. Okay.
Ron Senius, councilman, 17.
17. Okay. Yeah, because I knew you were here when Chris was hired. Yes. Okay.
Been here forever.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Kelly Hinkle, I'm the library director, and I've been in my role for 3 months.
Okay. All right.
Blake Hansen, building inspector, code enforcement officer, just under 2 years.
Okay. All right.
Craig Walker, department head of the water and sewer department, and been with the city for 17 years.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of those projects I see you're doing with water and sewer. You're going to be a busy guy. Okay.
Ted Paxton, chief of police since 2014.
Okay.
Matt Bogus, I'm the director of the Parks and Rec Department, and I've been here for 8 years.
Okay. All right.
Scott Meyer, street superintendent, 26 years.
How many?
26. 3 at the head.
Wow. Okay. And Chris, how long has it been?
Oh boy, well, it was before Ted, 6 months before Ted, so it's 8.5 years I've been
Okay.
here.
All right.
council's clerk for 2.
Okay,
Bethany Gates, I've been a council member for a year and a half.
okay, all right,
Valerie Beerbauer, I've been a council member for 1 year.
okay.
Andrew Elwick, I'll assume a couple of years. Not sure how long.
Okay. All right. And I knew his dad, by the way, he was on the council, and we were just talking about his dad before, so, okay. All right, this question is for the mayor and the council, and that is, I tell people, we will all have a legacy. We will have a legacy on how will we remembered in our personal lives, you know? We will have a legacy in our work life as well. But you will have an additional third legacy, and that is a council. As a member of this city council, you know, some of us for 17 years, some of us it might just be 4 years, I don't know. But you will be remembered by the public and by the citizens who observed you. And so my question to you is, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want that legacy to be? And this time I'm going to start with Ron. Since you've been here the longest, you already have a legacy of some sort, okay?
Wow.
What do you want?
Oh, yes, I do. You don't know about that.
What do you want that legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Well, basically, since I've been on council, we've reinstituted redoing streets,
Yeah.
which it hadn't been done for years since the downtown project,
Yeah.
the previous council. Quite a few new ordinances, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go to Bethany.
I would like to be remembered as a council member that took time to listen to concerns and
Okay.
help make improvements when things that we could improve are brought to our attention. If we can do that without raising taxes too much, all the better.
Okay. All right. Valerie, what do you want your legacy to be?
You know, I'm standing up for the citizens of the town.
Okay. All right. Good. Andrew.
Biggest thing for me was running and being as available to the public. Not the public in the town 24/7. So very available to the public. If they have questions, I always do my best to get back to them.
Okay. Okay. Tammy, long tenure, what do you want that legacy to be?
I would like it to be that this is a council that does things for the citizens, with the citizens' best interests at heart. Whether that be on the surface or
Right.
whether, you know, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I just like them to know that we do have their best interests.
Okay. All right. Lastly, Riley.
I don't know, inclusivity, making sure that we're paying attention to our marginalized communities and making sure they feel heard as well.
Okay. All right. Pretty common theme I'm hearing from a lot of you, and that is, you know, looking out for the interests of the citizens, providing good services to them. Which is kind of an interesting lead into my comment, but we'll talk more about this later when we get to communication, and that is, if I were to say to you, United States Congress, what do you think? Negative? Positive? United States Congress, what is your feelings?
What did they do now?
Now,
Disarray.
yeah. Then why is it we continually re-elect the incumbents over and over? And I haven't seen the numbers lately, but it used to be 80–90%. We consistently re-elect the incumbents. They've done surveys, and what they've learned is that the vast majority of people like their incumbent, but the institution that they're a part of, they absolutely despise. And so you might say, well, why is that? I suspect the reason is because politics and the government at that level, and now a lot at the state level, has really gotten dirty. Okay? And so one side badmouths the other side, and it's back and forth, they badmouth each other. Pretty soon, the image that you have of the entire institution is very, very negative, even though you might like the individual. And I tell people, and I used to never see this in local governments, but sometimes you can see it, and that is, the same thing can happen to you. Here's what happens is, when you have a split vote, and you leave this room, and you go to the grocery store, and someone corners you at the grocery store and says, I see the council just did this. Boy, what's that all about? And let's say you're on a losing side. There's two ways you can respond to that. The first one is, oh yeah, that bunch of losers, I couldn't convince them to go this way. Stupid bunch, I can't believe they did that. What did you just do? You just portrayed the image that the council doesn't know what they're doing. They're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Wouldn't listen to me. You now portrayed that image of the entire council, of which you are a member, okay? Now let's flip it, and let's say that same person comes to you and says, oh, I see they just voted that down last night, I can't believe it. And the other answer could be, yes, that's true, but we had a good discussion. I got my points out there, I heard their points, we had a give and take. But as you know, in this country, majority rules, and the majority voted to do this. And as a result of that, I'm a part of that body, and we need to move forward and do what the majority wants, and so I will now have to support what the majority wanted. There may be a day when I'm on the other side, where I will vote for something and I will win. But in this particular case, the majority ruled, and I have to move on. The image that you now presented on that response is, gee, those people have good discussion, it's not always a 5-0 vote, and, they move forward, we're working together. And so you have a chance every single time somebody out there says, why did the council do this or why did they do that? And you can badmouth your fellow council members or the department heads for that matter too, because they're all part of this team, And if you badmouth those folks, they're part of the city family. And so it reflects back poorly on the entire city organization. So it's important that you work together as a family going forward, and that you present a more positive image to the community, if it's not been going on in the past. And I don't know, it may very well that's what you've done, but always be mindful of that fact that you're part of a group here, and the entire image is impacted by what each and every one of you say about the city, the department heads, the council as a whole. So keep that in mind as you move forward on any issue where there's any controversy. So, for what it's worth, I've done this a long time, and one of my handouts I'm going to give you tonight, if you want one, and that is the 10 Habits of Highly Effective City Councils. I was challenged to do this workshop last year because somebody said, hey, you've been in city government for 48 years, you've seen a lot of cities succeed and you've seen a lot of cities struggle. What were the differences between the two? And I sat down and I thought to myself, what did those cities that I saw really succeed, like the Manchesters of the world, what did they do differently? And so I just kind of sat back and reflected on it, and I followed the old David Letterman approach. I come up with my top 10 things that they do. And for what it's worth, I'll share that handout with you if you were not at my workshop at the League of Cities a year or so ago. So, okay, with that, let's get to the task at hand, and that is, let's go to the accomplishments. And Exhibit A are all the items that the mayor and council came up with. And the reason I start you out with this is because so many times we can kind of get bogged down on any, the negative issues or the things that are really bothering us, and we don't take time to step back and reflect on what it is we've got accomplished. And it's a pretty impressive two lists that you've come up with. The mayor and council have come up with 19 ideas, and the department heads have come up with, what did you guys think? Even a longer list, 36 ideas. Now that's not unusual. I typically see the department heads with a slightly longer list because this is what they do. They are living and breathing this all the time, so it's only natural that they would be more aware of some of the things that are going on out there. I'm going to assume that you all had a chance to read this, okay? Might give you a minute or two to kind of refresh your memory, but like I said before, there's two questions. Did we miss anything? As you reviewed that list, was there an item there that we should add to this list? Does anybody think of anything that we might have, this is for the mayor and council on Exhibit A. Did we miss anything that you folks might want to add to this list? Okay? The second question, as you went down through the list, was there anything on this list where you did not know what we were talking about? That would be important to have an explanation. And for those council members that, you know, have been here a short period of time, a year or so, don't be afraid to say, you know what, I wasn't there when this was done. Explain to me what this is all about. Okay, that's good, all right. Let's go to the next list, and that's Exhibit B. Exhibit B then is what the department heads came up with, and a lot of impressive things on this list. As I look down through this, boy, there's a lot of things on here that a lot of citizens would be very proud to point to. The one that struck out at me was, I saw the news story on it, that's your glow trail. That is a cool idea. Got some nice publicity. I think, is it KCRG did a story on that? Is that where I saw that? Okay. Yeah, that was cool. So, in fact, when I leave here tonight, I need somebody to give me directions. I want to go see that before I leave town. Yeah, so, but, you know, those are the types of things that kind of set you apart from other communities, if you can do those kinds of things. So, same two questions. Department heads, did we miss anything? Is there anything that we've overlooked that needs to be added? Okay. Did you see anything on the list that you don't understand what it was? Would you like an explanation? Particularly council members, because you've got your department heads here, and one of those put this item on their list. So this is your opportunity to ask them if there's anything that you don't understand. Okay. I do have one quick question. What's the food truck ordinance all about? The reason I ask is, my wife and I run a flea market in Monticello, and we bring in these food trucks. And I have one down in DeWitt that we do too, and I ran into an ordinance in DeWitt that kind of limited us a little bit. So I'm curious, what's this all about?
Well, we had an influx of food truck vendors over the last couple of years, and so we were asked if we could create just a standard policy, so that we knew that everyone had the appropriate insurance and just.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a very good ordinance. We brought the food truck vendors in.
Yeah, they were all very active.
Yes,
Okay.
yep,
Putting the
yep.
ordinance together.
It was in cooperation with the vendors.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's what that was about. Good. Okay. All right. So, did anyone else see anything on this list that you need an explanation on? Okay. Let's go to the next list. And that is the list of issues and trends and concerns. And the council members came up with 26 items. By the way, if you want to know why my sheets are bigger than yours, I just had cataract surgery 2 weeks ago, and I'm still adjusting these stupid cheaters. Okay. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to blow mine up so I don't have to be putting those cheaters on. Any questions, Mayor and council members, any of these items that your colleagues put down? Anything you'd like an explanation on? Anything you didn't understand? And of course, is there anything we might have overlooked we should add to the list? Okay.
Well, I could ask,
Yeah.
do not engage in Agenda 2030.
What is Agenda 2030 then?
Are we looking too
No
far
one's-
into the future?
No one's has any idea what Agenda 2030 is.
It's the UN agenda for 2030.
It's not good.
It includes like, clean water initiatives,
Okay.
gender equality, those types of things.
Okay.
Get rid of hunger, poverty, that type of stuff.
Okay. Okay. All right. It doesn't really talk about streets, water, sewer necessarily, does it? Okay.
It's more of a,
Okay.
it's like the UN's idea for the world as a whole,
Global
Okay.
initiative, not.
Okay. Now, I think this shows up
Yeah,
as a policy issue or something later, right? If I
Well,
remember
I'm
right.
sure that
Yeah,
things
it
along
shows
the
up, I
way
think,
will.
on exhibits F or G, in which case you will have a chance to vote on that as well. Yeah, so, okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right, let's go to the department heads list. Once again, department heads, if you think we missed anything on either this list, let us know. And as you went down through the list, Was there anything on here that you didn't understand, that you would like an explanation of?
We're losing 48,000 in road use tax money, what is that? We're losing $48,000.
Last annual.
Census.
You dropped in the census. How many numbers did you drop by? What?
It was, 212 or something. Yeah, 212.
Okay.
I think the census was incorrect.
I agree with
Oh, really?
Very,
Yeah.
very much so.
Okay, which, that means you might consider a special census
Well,
down the
that's what
road,
we
maybe.
Talked about the
Yeah.
costs.
You have to do the cost analysis to see if it's worth it, you know. Okay, well, that's unfortunate that you've got people missed, because that does cost you road use tax dollars. You know, that means other cities out there are gonna get the money that you haven't been getting, okay? Because your census went down, because that is based entirely on population. So you lose population, you lose money, which is very unfortunate. Yeah. So, and in this day and age with prices going up, not the time to be losing revenues. Because to provide the same service, that now has to be made up possibly with property taxes, or the service needs to be cut or declined. So, not a good thing. Good question. Any other questions that you saw on the list that you would like an explanation on? Okay. There are none. Let's go to Exhibit E. And as I said, this is really what it's all about, okay? And I'm going to go down through these one by one. And as I go down through them, if you hear me say something, or you see something on the list and you think, we've already decided that, we're gonna do that, we've committed to it, let me know, and I'll mark it, like I said, as a given, and we won't vote on that one. It will not be lost, it'll still be in the report, where you've all acknowledged that this is something you're gonna move forward on. So, number one, create a clear and concise procedure for evaluating employee performance. And there's all kinds of models out there that you can get if you want to do that, okay? Number two, create a document outlining chain of command within the city, who reports to who and who oversees which areas. Kind of an organizational assessment, if you were to come up with a better term. Okay, number three. Given that the median income in Vinton is low, review utility rates, current tax levies, and see if there's room to lower costs to seniors while still funding the needs. If you get that one done, market it. There's going to be a lot of cities out there that will pay to see what you did. So get a patent on it if you do it, because you will do something that most other cities are not able to do. I don't know too many out there that have lowered utility rates lately. It's just all they can do to maintain it so it doesn't go up too high, too fast. So, but it's a noble goal. And I would say if you were flush with money and you had lots of money in the bank and you have no trouble funding everything, that might be something you could do. I occasionally run into a city that says, you know, we got $10 million sitting in the bank, you know, or $12 million sitting in the bank, and we're only a town of 1,000. We don't need all that money. Or the other thing I see happen is you get a new casino. Whoa, that changes everything. I've done work up in Marquette, Iowa. Oh, it's fun doing work up there. They're flush with money. So, but I don't think you've got a casino or one being built. Too bad you couldn't have turned that school for the rail school into a casino. Okay. Number 4, create a document specific to Vinton outlining all department functions, roles, job descriptions to be given to all new council members and staff. This ties into something you'll see later, and that's an orientation program, which I'll talk a little bit about. So, okay. Number 5, update the city website, which that shows up in the department head list too. So, and by the way, when you do vote on these, where there's any duplication between your list and the department head list, we combine them. Okay. Number 6, Planning and Zoning Commission review of zoning maps, zoning ordinances, and make recommendations to the city council. How long has it been since the zoning ordinance and the map were updated? Anybody know?
In the process of doing it right now.
Been a while then, okay. Okay, number 7, diversity education for employees. Number 8, more housing incentive programs. Do you have TIF money that's in one of these low and moderate income housing funds?
Yes,
Okay. Might be a good use of that money, some kind of incentive program there.
actually, we did.
Did you? Okay.
With 10 houses in the New Anderson Creek subdivision.
Okay.
For down payment assistance.
Okay. Number 8, number 9, rental inspections. And that same one shows up on the department head list too. And, that does take time and effort, but I know you've got a housing inspector. I saw his pickup out there, so. Number 10, property cleanup and nuisance abatement enforcement program. And that's a good one. In fact, this shows up on a lot of lists that I do, this sort of thing. So I tell people that's important, because if you don't do that, it's kind of a spiral downward. You know, one neighbor does it, then the next one, and pretty soon it's like, it's out of control. So kudos to folks for recognizing the importance of doing that. Number 11, downtown promotion ideas and events to draw people to downtown. Number 12, review and update all of city code sections, but under accomplishments, I saw recodification.
Yes.
Yeah, we just did that.
We just got.
So is this already done? Is 12 done, or was there more to work to do?
No, we've already done it, right, Melissa? Recodified, Alice recodified the code.
Yeah.
As a
ordinance been-
whole, before me.
Yeah, it was done. Not saying that, we can't go back and.
Do more.
And we always look at it
Yeah.
and
Okay.
readjust.
Well, then I'll leave it on there if there's other sections, and we'll just see how it ranks. Yeah. But you've done at least the first go around it. Okay. Okay, number 13, post recorded meetings on the city's website. A lot of cities are doing that, by the way. Okay. Number 14, and we talked about this earlier, and that is refrain from involvement in the sustainable development schemes and the Agenda 2030.
ICLEI is International Council for Local Government Initiatives.
Oh, that's what, okay, I wasn't sure what that acronym was, okay. All right, number 15, adjust water rates, sewer rates to pay for upcoming improvements, which is kind of a, 3 and this one are a little bit in the same order, but one is lower and the other one is probably adjust or raise.
Aren't we in the process of doing that as well, Chris?
Yes, Tiana, questionnaire, we're trying to get it fulfilled when we have time available to do so
Okay.
for rates.
The council, are you all committed to this, that you're gonna move ahead and review your water sewer rates, or is this something you wanna vote on? Because if you're already committed to it, I could put that under your list of givens. I'm not hearing,
Well, the study's been done.
but you're actually doing it.
Our implementation process kinda got a little hiccups.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we
there
probably
you go.
better keep it on here
Yeah.
then. Okay. Which, by the way, the next list has got the capital projects, so if you're not willing to adjust rates, then all those other projects probably should not rank very high, because you won't have the money to do them. So just a fact of life, that's all it is. I'm gonna keep it on here then, because you've already done the study. Now it's in your hands to follow through on the study and make the adjustments that are needed, so, okay. Number 16, develop a policy on FOIA request, which is also some other one that the department heads have.
We're supposed to be working on that, correct?
Okay.
Yep.
So it's in progress, but it's not done yet, though.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Number 17, review and improve emergency response plan, such as flood recovery. Number 18, update the comprehensive plan. Now that usually is something that is tied with your number 6. Planning and zoning would probably do that together. Typically, you do the comprehensive plan followed by the zoning map and the zoning ordinance. So I almost combined those two, but they could be two separate exercises with the comp plan coming first and then zoning second. But I can leave them separate. Depends on how you like to rank them. So, you've got them separate now, but I can sure combine them. Okay, I'll leave them separate then. Number 19, last one on council's list, review and update city policies related to property abandonment. A lot of property owners live out of town, I take it, and, okay, they just kind of abandon their sites. Yeah, that's not easy.
Some of these, I think, are coming from current.
Oh, okay. Once again, you're gonna have a chance to you rank all of these items, and we'll just have to make a determination as to which ones are the most important. Okay, I'm gonna go to the department head list now. That's Exhibit F. And department heads have about the same number, 20 items. Now, there's some duplication. I will point those duplications out as we go along. Okay. Number 1, records request policy. I think that's the same as your number 16. Okay? Number 2,
Now,
a
is that
long-term.
Sorry,
Yeah,
is
go
that
ahead.
for individual departments? Or is it gonna be for the whole?
I would say it's a citywide policy, isn't it?
Well, we have a separate
Oh, you have a separate policy?
records request
Okay.
form.
Is everybody okay if we combine police and all into one in terms of, it's a goal to get all of them up to date?
That's fine, that works for me.
So I'm gonna modify that briefly by making reference to the police department's records request as well then. Plus police, okay. I'm glad you pointed that out, because I didn't realize it was two separate.
Well, obviously, we have sensitive
Yeah.
information that
Right.
needs to go out.
There's a lot of other stuff you just can't
Yeah.
put out there. Yeah. Most everything that Melissa and Chris have, it's all public except for the personnel, some of the personnel stuff. Okay. Number 2, long-term capital improvements plan. Which, by the way, I have a handout on that if anybody's interested. Number 3, housing rental code, which I thought would be the same as number 9 on the council's list. Is that a fair statement? Because if you're gonna have a code, you gotta have inspections, so. Okay,
We do have a draft in place.
okay, good. All right. That's a good start then. All right. Number 4, implement a vacant or distressed property registration program. Is that the same as the council's number 19? Could those two be combined?
They're pretty close, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna combine those two. By the way, as I go through these and I say I'm combining them, I'm not hearing anything, I'm moving forward, okay?
Silence means affirmation.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Tim
By the way,
said-
I should have gone through my blue sheets with you, I was hoping you just kind of glanced through them as we started, but that's one of my key things, silence is affirmation, so, okay. Let's see, where did I leave off? Number 6. No, number 5. Nuisance abatement plan and goals, stricter rules. And is that the same as your council's number 10?
Yes.
Okay, I've got those two combined then. Number 6, develop a fund for exterior repairs to owner-occupied properties below medium income. Okay. Number 7, create a housing quality inventory. By the way, council, if there's any of these items you think, what does that mean?
Doesn't our housing study that we did fall into this, or is it too old?
Well, no, it's not too old, it just identifies the kind of housing needs for the community. It doesn't actually take the actual
What we have,
inventory of what
okay.
we have.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And really quality.
Yeah, and how they rank as far as quality.
Gotcha.
licensing program. I take it you don't have one now, huh?
We do not. Former city I was at, we did.
Okay.
We do have a lot of, at-large issues.
Yeah. I know at the council meeting I was at this summer, that was a topic of conversation. Okay. Number 9, better wellness program incentives.
For citizens or for
For
employees?
employees. Staff.
I'll make note of that, it's, we're talking employees. Okay?
It could benefit the council
Yeah.
as well. Employees.
Are you trying to say something?
No, I'm just trying to include you.
Yeah.
For the record, I didn't write that on the list. It was not mine.
I did because I need to officer.
Yeah.
That's fair.
All right.
I think you all look fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
What are you sucking up? I know budget's coming up, I know, but
Okay, number 10, update zoning codes, which I'm assuming is the same as number 6 on the council's list.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 11, better city web page and site, and that's the same as your number 5, I'm assuming. Okay. Number 12 is a different one, and that is new sidewalk or replacement program. That's a hot topic in some communities. Okay. Number 13, annexation study.
We have some property out there, I think recently the city purchased that probably should be annexed.
Do they have water and sewer?
Pardon me?
Do they have water and sewer service?
I don't think at this time, no.
Okay.
It's-
Any-
Part of it does.
Yeah, part of it does.
Part of it? Okay. Okay. Number 14, revamp of oversized garbage application process.
Do we have a current oversized garbage application process, and what is it?
Yeah,
I
what is
believe
that?
that's supposed to be garage.
That makes much more sense.
That makes a huge
got it.
difference.
Much better, yes. I wanted to know what oversized garbage is, like how big are we talking?
I wondered what that was too, but, might have been handwritten and hard to read, so. My wife types these and she gives it her best shot, so. Okay. Number 15, revamp of city website to more user-friendly, provide better information. That's the same as your number 5 and also the number 11 above, so I've combined that with your number 5, Counselor.
As you can see, we really need to.
Yes, I'm through a lot of things. Yeah. I was on your website, I was looking for all of your pictures, by the way, and I didn't see any pictures.
We don't have photos. Are we supposed to?
There used to be some photos,
Did
but
ya?
just a while ago,
Okay.
we haven't updated that.
Can I submit my own photo?
Yes, because I don't think that they were submitted, so
Okay.
I digress.
There's a mayor on a calendar, you might wanna be careful.
Okay.
You just got in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I've been in some cities where they don't want their picture out there because they don't want to be identified. So,
I figured that's why you took them
But-
down, so.
anyway. Okay, moving right along. Number 16, full-time IT person on staff. Okay. Number 17, upgrade employee job descriptions, responsibilities. I think that's the same as your number 4, Council.
Yep.
I think, very similar wording there. Number 18, allow burning of leaves in the streets if concrete or have concrete curb and gutter. Okay. Number 19, identify additional source of revenue to fund city services. And I kind of paraphrased that a little bit from where that came from, but that's the gist of what they were saying is getting tougher and tougher to balance the budget and looking for ways to identify additional sources of revenues. I'm assuming you have a franchise fee.
Yes,
Okay.
we do have franchise.
Okay.
We ring cell phone fee for having cell phones on town, on
Okay.
water towers.
Okay. All right. Years ago, I did a handout on that, Chris, if you remind me, I'll try and find it and send it to you. But it's quite old, but it's still got some ideas. Okay. Number 20, city-operated ambulance service. Now, I know cities that have ambulance services would like to give it back to somebody, so, but if there's a void out there, every community does need an ambulance service. Now, I'm assuming it's coming out of the hospital now?
No.
It's a
No.
grant event.
No, it's
It's a
a,
private
Yeah,
entity.
A private, okay.
and maybe they wanna take advantage of the new statewide levy
Okay.
that's available.
Yeah.
So, and also to apply for grants to
Yeah.
help fund them.
Okay. We just had that levy in Jones County, by the way.
Yep.
And it passed 70%. And with very little, promotion. I was scared to death it wouldn't pass because it wasn't being promoted that much. But the public really grasped it and approved it. So, okay. Department heads, did we miss anything? Are there any items that need to be added to the list? Okay. At this point, I usually give the opportunity for, first of all, mayor and council members. Since you're gonna be asked to kind of rank these and vote these, is there any item on this list that you're still not sure what it is, or why it's on the list, or why it might be important to consider? Because now's your chance to ask your fellow council members, your department heads, what's this on there for? What would this accomplish? Okay?
I have the new sidewalk or replacement program. Do you wanna replace the one we have, fix it? Is it bad? It wasn't you?
Not mine.
I think it needs to be, I interjected that, how are we maintaining it? Because there's a lot of sidewalks that are cracked, uneven, route to school is terrible.
Okay. I just didn't know if you wanted, so you wanted an inspection, like a sidewalk inspection program?
Well, it should be something that you can tell
It's
the
actually a
property
sign.
owner that, hey,
Yeah.
this is uneven, mark it, paint it, whatever. They need to, I don't know how the process is now, Scott.
They
is it-
just turn in their sheet when they get it done, and then they get $7.50 rebate.
No, but as far as letting them know that
There,
hey, your sidewalks are uneven,
there is no
trip hazard.
process. It's up to the homeowners. It's theirs, so.
I'm surprised that the city doesn't get in trouble for that, quite frankly, with DOJ.
Okay. Any other items you got a question on that you'd like to ask for clarification?
For the dog licensing program, would there be an exception for like if people brought in documentation showing that they already have their animal microchip from their veterinarian? Cause like my dogs are as identifiable as they can be, so I don't know.
Yeah,
what
it's just document that these animals are current on their shots, rabies and distemper. Also, we can associate that dog with a person. The microchip, we've got a reader, but it doesn't tell me who the owner is.
If they have it properly associated, it will.
And each
They have
chip
to
is a
find
little
it through.
different, and you gotta find the right website that has that information. Again, if all the vets shared one microchip company or whatever, then we can register them correctly. You can probably use that data, but to compile a database so that, again, we deal with a lot of at-large animals. If you follow our Facebook page, you'll see them on there. And that's been fairly successful, getting those dogs back to their owners. But we try to be nice, and if they come pick the dog up, we're happy with that. But at some point in time, it'd be nice if we just find the owner right away, so we don't have to completely take an officer away to deal with an
Well,
animal.
if we're gonna do a dog park too, those things are gonna
Even
kinda
would there be
go.
like an additional like yearly fee that people would have to pay?
The city that I came from is $5 fee every year.
But you get a tag.
Well, we
Which,
use,
which actually Vinton used to have.
yeah, we use the tag of the rabies tag and the number associated with that.
But there used to be a Vinton dog license with a number on it and everything. That was back, I can remember when I was a kid.
So my thing with that would be, not a lot of people actually put tags on their dogs' collars. I don't leave tags on my dog collars, because we go out to the farm, and if they get caught in the fence, they're
And
screwed.
if they have the chip, that's fine, but we just need to document that within our in-house.
And the only way we're really enforcing it is when they're at large and you catch them and find out they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions on any other topics?
I do, I have a question on the housing quality inventory.
So I was at a conference and Des Moines has set up a new department. It's Improve Our Neighborhoods is the name, ION is their acronym. And part of their startup was to, and this goes hand in hand with the fund for exterior repairs of low to moderate income families. They sent out people and took an inventory of housing and got an idea of how much of the properties in Des Moines are, you know, in excellent shape, no need to worry about them, and, you know, ones that will paint or whatever, nothing to worry about, ones that the next windstorm, you're gonna be dealing with a boarded up home. So you have an idea of how many properties are in danger of becoming serious issues for the city, the neighbors, the inhabitants. And then they use this inventory as kind of a jumping off point for reaching out to these people and helping them out with new roof, windows, replace siding, painting, that sort of thing.
Okay. Any other questions? Now, the other thing I do at this point too is, I'm gonna take the council members first, and then I'm gonna give the department heads the same opportunity, and that is, council members, is there anything on either one of these two lists where you looked at the list and thought, boy, that's important, I hope my fellow council members put a lot of dots on that one, because I think it's critical that we do it, and here's why. And obviously, I can't allow for a 15-minute dissertation, but, you know, a short sales pitch, as I would call it, on why that item is important, why it's on the list, why it should be near the top of the list, in your opinion.
I would say updating the city website as well as putting the meetings out somewhere where the public can view them. That just makes it more accessible for people and easier for people to understand what's happening in
What
the
you're
city
doing.
if they choose to do so.
Yep. Okay. All right. Other council members, or anything you want to give a sales pitch on?
I think the rental inspection would be a really good thing,
Okay.
because there's a lot of
Junk out there. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of towns struggle with that one. That's a tough one, yeah.
I think a little bit of diversity education would be good,
Mhm.
just to, in service,
Yeah.
couple hour in service.
Mhm.
And could be more diversity, just all kinds of
Mhm.
appropriate, inappropriate behaviors.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
All right.
something that my department or
Mhm.
my officers have to have, so it's a requirement,
Okay.
annual.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm. Okay.
I think it's pretty important that we update our comprehensive plan, because if we don't have a cohesive plan, then as we're trying to figure out what's best for the city, we're just piecemealing it together. So I do think it's really important we get that updated, which is why you're here.
Yeah.
But,
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Clearly, everybody thinks that the job descriptions and that is important as well, so that's
Mhm.
good.
yep.
Okay. Yeah, some showed up
Yeah.
a few times. Department heads, anything you want to put a sales pitch in on? Maybe it's something you put on there and give you a chance to tell the council, this is why I put it on and this is why I think it's really important. Anybody want to do that?
Well, I think the long-term, which is another reason why you're here, the long-term capital improvement plan and having something on paper, because that's part of the reason you're here, is that you've got department heads that have come to a confluence here with needs that they want and things they want addressed, and they're all coming together at the same time. And there needs to be a hierarchy of what the city needs to get done and how we need to get it done and in the fashion that we need to get it done.
Okay. I just did one of those for your neighbor, the East Urbana. So it's much smaller than you, but they put together one a couple of years ago. So if Urbana can do one, I would think it just takes time. And actually, a lot of work on the part of the department. Cresco just did one too. And they had a public works director who just really, and a clerk that just kind of grabbed it and did it. So, yeah. So if you'd like, if you want to see those two examples, let me know. I'll send you what they look like. Okay. Department heads, any other items you want to put a plug in for?
I think the rental code, I put that on there for our citizens in town that are renting. Some of the houses that myself and my officers go in, and any other public safety people that respond to calls to their house.
Okay.
Some of those houses you don't want to walk into.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of times that, I should say a lot, there's been a handful of times that either myself or my officers will go home and strip in their garage and go in the house and take a shower. It's just, that type of condition is prevalent in this town, and it's not necessary. Some of these landlords need to be held accountable for the conditions of the properties. Not just cleanliness, but as far as safety, as far as electrical, plumbing. There's a lot of stuff that could be addressed.
Probably more than once you've seen little children in those places.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the really sad part. Okay. I always tell people, usually it takes one tragic incident to kind of push a community to do something along those lines. Okay, last call. Any other sales pitch you'd like to put a pitch in?
I would put a plug in for a full-time IT person.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
Who's doing ITE things right now?
Yeah.
We
John Friel.
John Friel.
we contract with AGM Corbin.
Okay.
We have a point of contact there, that's our person, but
Yeah.
we are a large enough community, I feel like, with enough different departments that having our own person, we would keep them busy and could help
Yeah.
with the website, you know, and some of those other things too,
Right.
so.
Marketing, I mean like email or website marketing, other stuff like that too.
And I think there's
Social media marketing.
a really
stuff
great
like that.
opportunity in cost sharing that with Vinton and some of the provisioning Matt has to do
Oh, yeah.
with services, I think would be a great partnership.
Okay.
I guess lastly too, I would push pretty hard too for Ted's sentiment on the sidewalk, new sidewalk and replacement program. This isn't a very walkable or bikeable friendly town.
Okay.
Our kids, a lot of times, our joggers, people when they go for walks, they're walking in the street all the time.
Right.
They're not walking on sidewalks.
So for me to get to the Glow Trail, I would be walking in the street. to get
100%.
there.
Yes, you will.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know, I can only take this from past experience, places I lived. I mean, I remember when I owned my house in Marion, I had a hairline crack in my sidewalk, and it was there for 2 days, and I had an enforcement officer there to tell me to replace it,
Yeah.
which sucked,
Mhm.
but.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other items anybody wants to talk about?
I'd like to talk about the nuisance abatement plan goals. So there wasn't really any of that going on prior to me, and, we were kinda getting to that point where things had gotten out of control.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of everything, just in general, individual residences and also large scale properties. And I would like to see, kind of some priorities from the city of, you know, what they'd really like to see focused on, and then kind of order of operations for the large,
Yeah.
vacant, unsafe buildings in town.
Yep.
Cause otherwise, it's just kind of throw a dart and start there.
I'll put a plug in for you, and that is, you've gotta have this gentleman's back, okay? Because he's got a tough job, and more than likely, when he's out there enforcing this stuff, somebody's gonna complain to somebody at this table. And if you don't have his back, you know, and support him in this effort, the program is just gonna fail. So kind of keep that in mind, when, you know, when you ask him to do this, that you need to support him. And, so I'm glad to hear you say, you know, we need to have a little more direction here on what they want you to do. Yeah, because this is what he's got is not an easy job. I'm glad to see you've made the commitment to a full-time person, because a lot of people don't do that. You know, a lot of cities should do that.
Well, insurance had a lot to do with it as
Oh,
well,
okay.
because, our last inspector, he didn't really do as much. And
Okay.
we got notified by ISO that our rating was gonna jump from currently a 5 to a 9.
Ooh.
Unless we had somebody hired full-time.
Oh, because that would cost everybody in town more in insurance rates.
Millions of dollars.
Oh, my God.
It would have cost overall for the citizens.
Okay, so, I see.
I think,
Great investment.
and I think back to your first goal setting
Yeah.
session when you came the first time,
Yeah.
that position was on it.
Oh, that's
I'm
right, yeah.
pretty sure we
Yeah,
talked
could very well be, yeah,
a while about it.
could very well be, yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we get to the voting process? All right. Gonna pass those down for me, and we'll talk a little bit about the voting process that I use, and I give the council some choices on this. Okay, I'll wait till everybody's got one there. Okay, first thing we need to do is get a count, and I've done that for you. I think we have 31 items. My best count is that there's 19 items on the list of the department head, or the council members, and then when I swung some of these items over to combine them, the department heads had, I think, 12 left. So 12 and 19 is 31. So that's kind of where we stand at 31 items now. Number two, now we talked about some items that were kind of on the given list, but what I was hearing was, well, we've kind of started it, we got a draft, but the council hasn't formally approved it. So for that reason, I did not put anything on your list of givens yet, that you need to follow through on that. So, the first question I always ask councils is, and I usually get the same answer with one exception, and that, do you want to use the dot processes where we use the big sheets, put your dots on the highest number of items that you want, or do you want to numerically rank them? I have one city that numerically ranks these from 1 to 31, and that's hard to do, and it takes a while. So, if you're okay, we will not do that, we will stay with the dot process.
We're not
Okay?
hard checks. That's
Yes, good visual, okay. Number 4 that I have is how many dots to give you. Typically, I give you about a third, so if there's 31 items, I might give you 10 dots. So, are you folks okay if I give you 10 dots? Does that give you enough to pick out your top 10 items? Now, I can cut it down, or I can add a little to it. It's kind of your call. Yes.
Question,
Yes.
how long is this goal setting supposed to last for? Like, when do we do this again? How often are we supposed to do this?
every 2 years.
Yeah,
Okay, so
typically
this-
I
so
recommend 2 years.
How many dots can we get done in 2 years?
Yes, that's a good question. Yep.
Every 2 years.
Well, some of these are smaller, like, we
That's
can
true.
update, we can update
Yeah.
our codes, we can update our website, I mean, we can do a lot of dots in 2 years, I have faith.
Well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna prioritize them. and you're gonna, what this is a message to your city staff. From council's perspective, these are the top items. And let's start at the top and work our way down as best we can. So, and sometimes when I give 10 dots, you gotta keep in mind, it's gonna be all over the place too. So, we may in the end only end up with 5 or 6 items. It may not be 10 items.
Okay.
Because if an item doesn't get enough dots, yeah, I recognize it's on the list, but it didn't rank high enough.
Okay.
Okay, so, we did the sales pitch. Okay, item B under my list is, I have 2 ways I do the dot process. One is a single color, and I give you 10 dots, all the same color. You put your initials on them and put them on the top 10. I've had a couple cities say, well, why don't you mix it up a little bit and give us 5 of one color and 5 of another. Let's say I give you 5 green ones, 5 green ones, that's your top 5, no doubt about it. I'm gonna give you maybe 5 orange ones, that's kind of my second tier. So when when I do the list, I give a weighted average. So if it's a green dot in your top 5, that gets 2 points. If it's an orange dot, that's in your bottom 5, that gets 1 point. So I do a kind of a numerical weighted average on all of them that way. And the next one, the last one is a new hybrid that my very last session I did this. Mark Jackson in Story City has done it. The mayor came up with this idea. He had to go through the process twice. First time around, 5 dots, top 5 items. Then we identified, of those, the top 10. And then I gave him 5 more dots. And then they put numbers on those dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then put their numbers, once again, a numerical average. I felt, they liked it, but I felt it was too complicated. My suggestion would be either 1 color or 2 colors, 10 dots, call it good.
1 color, 10 dots is working.
That work for you?
Anybody?
Yep.
I like the 2 colors.
I like the 2 colors.
Not the hybrid, but I like the 2 colors.
You like the 2 color system?
Top 5 and the
Yeah.
second top 5.
Okay. All right. What do the rest of you think? Does it make any difference to you?
1 color.
I think
One
we did
color?
2 colors last time, didn't we?
Now, how long has Mark been in Story City again?
Long time.
Like
Well, I'm
25
kinda
years?
hearing,
We have
leaning
2 for
towards.
2 colors, 2 for
Time
1
for
color.
all that.
Bethany, what say you?
Oh, I'm the 2 color.
We have 3, I think 2 colors.
Okay.
Okay.
Take it.
All right, we'll go with the 2 colors then, and we'll do the
Is that
weighted
because I
average.
can't see the
Okay,
colors?
now,
Oh, Andrew, I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
all right.
Colorblind.
Okay, make a note on here, I'm gonna give you 2 colors, all right? Okay, green is the top,
Okay.
don't mix them up.
Green means go.
Green, go, okay, top
Put
one.
X's on your.
Yeah, yes, and the other thing is, orange is your second tier. Put your initials on all your dots, and the reason is, I had a gentleman do this a number of years ago, and he put up half his dots, and he started thinking, I can't make up my mind. And he went back to the sheets, and he couldn't remember where he put his dots. Plus, I have 2 council members in the past put 3 dots on 1 item. No, you can't do that. 1 dot per item. So we double check when I get home to make sure that you haven't put 3 or 4 dots on 1 item that's your pet project, okay? So 1 dot per item, your initials on the dots.
If I put Tammy's dots on mine, this was on my dots. Same thing.
All right, okay. Any questions? Let's see, I covered everything. While I'm getting the sheets ready to go, you can start going down through your list and start identifying, your top 10 items. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, that's for count.
All right, and then once you get your dots up there, you can take a short break. Okay, you need a restroom break, and I think the other thing we're doing, we're gonna eat. Yeah, we're gonna take a break and grab something to eat, so Melissa's got that all set up, so once you're ready to go, you can see what she's got there, and we'll take a short break and put the dots up. We did agree to 1 color, right?
Yes, well,
Yep. You went 2 colors, yeah, that's
Two
true.
colors.
Green, that's right, green and orange,
green
that's
and
right.
orange.
Okay. Chris, you wanna help me out, make sure everybody gets, these are in groups of 5.
Okay.
So everybody gets one green. And I'm gonna let the department heads do it too, if it's okay with the council. Now,
Yeah, absolutely.
and, now the department heads, they're gonna go in the first column. Council, you're gonna go in the last column. But when it comes time to rank them, it's council that's gonna count, okay? We're doing the department heads, just kinda get a feel for what you folks think. But ultimately, this is their session, okay?
This reminds me of the first time I ever did this piece. Yeah.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
Oh, I'll let you know. This is green, this is first, this is second. I'll let Andrew know about his green. I got them separated.
So could have used it as a reason, and I could have changed my
Yeah.
preference.
Yeah, that's nice.
Green is number 1.
Yep.
Yep, green is one.
Green will go.
Whoops, I forgot to write that one.
5 and 5.
Thursday practice is at the Phenol facility.
Where's that?
It's off the top there. It's out there from the, you just go straight up out there, and then you just, like, by the ball run, and a bad place. It's off there. Which is nice to get there now, so you just take a feather and go around.
They were already downstairs, so. They gave Ron Dodson. Okay. Ron has Dodson.
They kind of
They moved it, they have moved it around.
Yeah. Used to go to the US Lawyers,
Yeah.
All right, now Andrew, your left one's your green,
Alright.
and your right one's your orange.
Darker is good.
Green is top, and make sure when you put your dots up, your department heads go in this first column, council in the last column.
Do any kind of, like,
It's not really skilled.
it's not, it's all speed reaction. I guess passing is like.
Did you see dots here, Kelly?
Yep.
It's just like all the stuff you used to do in the hospital, isn't it?
Thank you.
I wish they would have painted me like that. Because it kind of skews a little bit, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, oh, that's cool, it's like,
Pat, are you ready for us to start?
Yep, I'm ready. So you go ahead and put them up. Just make sure you get them in the right column. Council, you're here. Council in the last column.
No, you don't get extra dots for it.
Yeah, put our initials on them, is that what we're gonna do?
Put your initials on them.
Know your initials, correct?
Nope.
I showed you Craig instructions. Green's the top 5, orange is the bottom.
Green's go.
Next. Shouldn't take them both up there at the same time, Craig.
What about the middle 5?
No middle 5. Middle 5's for losers. Top and bottom. Well, actually, technically the lower 5 would be for losers.
You need help, Andrew? So, yeah, they're all the same list,
You can't read.
they're all part of the same list.
You can't read, right?
No, I think they're 2 separate lists.
Yeah.
Each sheet is different. If you go to both.
How many do I?
That's 1 through 19.
You have 5 green
Yeah.
that you really want to be done with,
Not
5
not
orange.
5 here on these, but 5 here on these. They're all.
We got them over
If
there
we had
too.
room,
Five
they would go from
between
top
the
to
two.
bottom.
Yes. You get
Yeah.
5 between
If
the
we had
two.
room, they'd go top to bottom. Okay.
So 4 sheets of paper.
Smells good, what you
I
got?
thought we had 2 separate lists going.
Did you bring a bib?
I changed my sweater. Yeah, I changed my sweatshirt.
I can tuck a
My
napkin
sweatshirt
into
just
your
smells like
collar.
a kid.
What's that?
I can tuck a napkin into your collar.
Good. I might need one.
Napkins when you go to like eat lobster. Tuck it in tight around behind your neck.
Bring a blanket over your lap.
Top 5. Got it.
anybody want?
Sure. I'll put them all in one
Those
box.
little snugglies, I guess, in your arms.
Everybody's got dots.
I know I'm missing something. It's over here.
Fair enough.
Oh my god, why are they all so spread out? I have to figure out where everyone went here.
Here are my green dots.
I suppose after they've done.
You can go whenever.
Yeah. Have to wait for it.
First you gave me dots.
Here too. Yep.
Be in that one.
It should be. Can we, Pat, can we move,
What's that? Did I get one out of place, maybe?
well,
Should IT person be on the city website and all that? Too, or
No,
totally different
Wrong
thing?
spot?
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no,
totally
we're just
different.
wondering if we can combine, never mind.
Okay.
IT person?
It's here, so
You're
I'm sure.
Yours will be over on that wall.
There you go.
Yeah, over on that wall.
Oh, right, yeah, it's over there.
Over there. I kind of spread them out so you wouldn't be all bunched together.
What's over here? What's over here?
What's oversized garbage?
That's the burning thing and everything over there. Let me look at those too. They're just
Yeah,
spread out.
yeah. Yeah, it's all for us.
All the staff are like, you an IT person.
Half my budget's gonna go pay him to
Good midwife.
Fix your computers.
Yeah, fix my screw ups. Time I touch that.
Well, property,
Is
weren't
Blake
there
the
two
reason why
property
we have a
abandonments?
leaf burning thing in
Yeah.
there? Blake wants to burn leaves
I
and
want to bring the computers too. I didn't know we'll pass, so.
yeah, I also wouldn't mind doing that as well. That would be pretty.
Right?
Be awesome.
The library been doing
So many kids this summer in college having fun. I've got some volunteers
Hopefully they get where I wanted them to go.
Boom.
Excuse me, sorry.
Sorry. Hit me.
Aren't you having fun?
Wait, so where did full-time IT person go?
It's over on this wall.
Sometimes you gotta tell you.
I think it's on that side, where there's, you see those
Watch
four
it.
green in the one box?
Ah!
One more over here. What did I miss? Any more dots? Just making sure. I don't know. It's just so many of them can be combined. One could take care of another on that website.
Sorry.
I've seen that before. I kind of want some, I don't know what I use them for, but I want some. Yeah.
That's the shit goes to I mean, I thought that one ankle games this year I had before. Now, if you look at that game, it's not sure.
Right.
Have you watched the game or it's like, well,
You have how many left? 3 second places?
Coming through.
Alright.
I didn't know city council, so.
Gotta remember which way I'm gonna get it. Whoops.
Oh boy.
I really saw that I was.
Oh, it was you. I would've kicked you if I'd known that.
I hope so.
Ours,
This is fourth go around.
they'll hit you before they.
No, I people against that.
Yes, this is fourth different team.
No fourth time with the 49ers.
To your family.
What's the comprehensive plan again?
A longer range plan.
Alright, I'm done. You're gonna be back here in 2 years.
Mr. Indecisive. Mr. Indecisive.
What's my next one?
I was just taking a picture of that.
I'm getting the picture. I'm not very pornographic.
I was gonna say what?
Whichever.
Very good.
Melissa is very good for all aspects of the city.
Lost track of where I am.
Oh, great.
Alright.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Alright. My grandparents' dog died. Died, so my grandparents buried me instead, so.
Yeah.
You live in the country or in town?
Just by Dallas right here on the corner.
Oh, shoot. That's no good.
He's 100 years old, the dog was his best friend, so.
Here we go.
Did you do your docs, Chris?
Oh.
Most of the time I don't, because I'm the guy in the middle.
Most of the time, the city manager doesn't.
We don't, typically we don't. We get, it's supposed to be a reflection truly of the community, and not of what I want.
What are we gonna do?
I can't
I'm not.
Shit hits the fan again.
Mark did not vote.
I understood that too. Pat and I will go way, way back. You convinced me to apply here, man. So thank you.
Yep.
There's one that has 6 department head stickers, but no city council ones, so
There's usually at least a couple items on that. That's not unusual.
I probably should.
I think it's more important for like people that don't come or aren't able to.
See, I just think
They
it's
can
good.
find out what's going on.
Yeah.
They gave you 20 dots. That's why it's so.
Jokes on you guys. I don't really shit.
Once we're all done, anybody wants to take a picture of any of these on your phone, a lot of people do that, so. But I'm gonna go around the room very quickly once we, all get settled back in, and just give you a quick count on how they've done. I'm gonna focus more on the council votes, because ultimately, that's how they'll be ranked.
Now my second ones.
I mean, like, just
Updating the job descriptions.
Let me know, I know you're, I mean, not really,
Sure, I know how the house
Updating
will
employee job descriptions and.
Appreciate that.
it's a little quirky.
Sure, thanks, Mike.
Oh, you're so kind, man.
You're right.
It's a little
Right.
quirky, putting it nicely.
Hey, you're leaving.
It's a little quirky.
Just can't
Well,
take
and
it.
everybody does it differently. So, I mean, all cities, everybody else, all do it different.
Sometimes you get 2, sometimes you get 9. Sometimes you get
Alright, I'm not gonna try to use that.
Mike, make
No, this is a It's no longer, it's no longer a sandwich. The 4th wheel now. Oh, the bums are getting soft with the 4 wheel now. Good stuff. Did you get the shop at the top?
Yeah, maybe this Sunday.
I'm gonna say you're like 75 kids. That's awesome. Awesome. It's a fair amount of money, like you said, $150 a kid. That's a good amount of money for each kid.
I may say chocolate sheets.
Thanks, and probably go too.
Well, that's not.
Yep, good try.
Yeah, 25. Boy, I'm boy.
Thanks for the grub home. Their toy aisle is pretty,
Right?
pretty good now.
I don't know what other word you used there though, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Not dry.
Sloppy.
Yep.
It's amazing how many people that were just.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yep, not a bad. But it does describe. It's almost like fudge, it's so, so rich. Yeah. it is.
Did you think I'd still be here?
Usually police chiefs don't move all that much. Not like city managers usually move a little more often.
Every 5 years?
Yeah, 5, 6, 7.
You do have a tendency to move around.
Yeah.
We tried getting him to go, but he just won't go.
His wife likes his house.
Yes.
Or that.
Oh, okay, that's good.
She does. He does like her house.
Yeah. Okay, just to give you a little idea of how things shook out, obviously you can see, I'm gonna focus on the ones that got it, that either got 4 or more from the council, or at least 3 green from the council. And the one that jumps out, of course, is the website work. You got 4 green and 1 orange on that one, and then the rental inspections, rental code. That's got 4 council members, and they got quite a bit of support from the department heads as well. So, pretty uniformity between the council and the department heads on the website and the rental code here. So, and then, you know, the performance evaluations, the chain of command. That did get at least two council members with green dots, so. Over on this sheet, kind of a wide variety here. This one up in the top here, the property cleanup nuisance abatement, got good support from department heads, and 3 green from the council. And then down here on the comprehensive plan, got five council members either have green or orange on that one. And then the one over here, the capital improvements plan, got 4 council members, either green or orange on that. Department heads put quite a few dots on the sidewalk replacement program, but the council did not. And full-time IT person, strong support from the department heads there. That's probably the one area where there was quite a difference of opinion. But still, 3 council members put an orange dot on that one. So. Any questions on any of those? And by the way, you're welcome to take a picture of these, and that way you can kind of look at them a little later. Now, the other thing I do give the mayor the opportunity to vote on this. Now, he's not here tonight, and so what I can do is, if he's so inclined, when he returns, then Melissa or Chris can talk to him and say, you know, these are the items that we voted on. What were your top 10, you know, top 5, and then your next 5, and then I can then record his vote and include it in the overall mix. And obviously, I'll put him with the council's votes because he's an elected official. So, if that's okay with council, we'll go ahead and wait for Ron to get back, or not Ron, but Bud to get back, and we'll put his votes up there.
1028 Iowa, Legion Henry 011,
Okay.
LPA 011.
Yep. Okay, any questions on any of that?
Let's take a quick second, thank Melissa for the meal.
Yes. Good sloppy joes.
It's awesome to have home cooking.
Yep. Okay, let's go on to the next category, and that is the capital projects. And we have exhibits G and H that we'll be going through on this one. And we're going to be doing the same thing. Once again, if there's any of these items that you've already committed to, and it's a given, then obviously you won't be putting dots on that one if everybody confers with labeling it as a given, that you're going to proceed ahead regardless. Okay, let's start with the councils first. The one item is probably one of the most expensive items on the list, and that is the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. And that's a $10 million project, and in this day and age, it could be more. One of the cities that's reached out to me recently is Webster City.
Oh, God.
And theirs is far more than that one.
$78 million.
Yeah. I know, and Webster City, yeah, they've got more population than you, but.
Not much. 78 million.
Yeah. Anyway, where are we at on that, by the way? What's the status of that right now?
It's in, permitting, it's already been permitted by DNR.
Okay.
Yeah, we're finishing up the
Environmental
study.
Okay.
We purchased land for the expansion already.
Okay.
Because it's the holding tanks that need to be constructed.
EQ basin.
That's right,
Okay.
equalization basin, so.
Yep.
Plans already been submitted, DNR, environmental ready,
Okay.
just waiting for that, finishing touches on it before we go ahead and get going. USDA just is looking at rates and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided whether or not we're gonna go, well, I think it's more so USDA, but also, SRF has some pretty good projects right now because they're offering loan forgiveness for all the engineering that's been done up to date.
Well, that would be fun. Let me ask this question to council. Is there any way you don't do this project? If there isn't any possibility that you won't do this project, then I think it's a given. And I don't see a need to put dots on it because you're already started the project and you're well into it. And the one story I'll share with you, there was a city not too far from here that the council said, no, we're not gonna do that wastewater plant, it costs too much money and we don't wanna raise rates. And the Manchester office of the DNR called the EPA and said, we got a council out there that just won't do this project. And so the EPA came to visit the council. And you don't want that. And the EPA told the council, they basically, if they turned it down, two things could happen. They could be personally fined, or they might even be put in prison. And I didn't believe the EPA had that kind of power, but evidently
They do have
They do.
that authority.
Yeah,
They have a
that kind of
judge on,
authority.
they have a judge on staff that signs those orders inside the building.
So folks, I'll mark this one's a given if it's okay with you. Yep. And so we'll move right on, number two. Number two is a new EMS building, public safety center. Okay. Number three, get rid of Holbert's.
Hobart.
I'm assuming this is a developer?
Oh, yeah.
Discussion we had before this meeting.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, we'll see how many dots it gets, okay? Okay, number four, street improvement projects, and 8th Street was the one that they use as an example.
Oh, okay.
All right, number five, water main replacement program. Okay. Number six, general improvements and updates in the downtown area. How long ago was your streetscape project done, by the way? How old is that?
20 years ago?
20 years ago?
99,
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah.
You won a League of Cities award for that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, you folks were kind of one of the leading stars out there in downtown projects, so it was well known around the state what you did.
Yep.
No infrastructure.
Okay.
No.
Okay, number seven, the 13th Street Bridge Project, 1.5 million.
We have a grant for that coming. We have a grant for that
You
coming.
have a grant for it?
And that would be a given then?
That's a given.
Yeah, it's a given.
Okay, everybody in agreement that that's a given, you don't need to vote on that, so,
Yep.
okay. Number eight, water plant improvements, 60 million.
60.
Kinda high.
Ooh, I thought it was 6 million.
Is it six? Is
It's
it
just
6.1
million.
maybe?
It's not 60.
All right,
Six.
I'll change that. 6.1, 6.0 million.
We're used to that from Craig.
Okay.
You guys put that on there, not me. In the next list I did, not on this one.
Okay. The next one, and that's a big one too, recreation center swimming pool project.
That one's a little high too.
Is that,
Yeah.
what would be a more
Probably
realistic?
be 8 to 12.
8 to 12, okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought that was that, but, well, I've seen some pretty extravagant ones.
Never know.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that list? Anybody need an explanation? Okay. Let's go to the department head list. And there were 18 on that list, I believe, okay. The first one is the water plant, that's a duplication of your number 8. New City Hall, number 2. Okay. Number 3, a new recreation center, and that's a duplication of your number 9, I'm assuming. Number 4, finish the public safety building project, that's a duplication of your number 2, council. Number 5, wastewater plant treatment upgrade, that's the same as your number 1, which is now a given. Number 6, firing range for police.
I'll put that in there.
You can take that off.
Craig
I
probably
was
did.
curious.
Craig needs the ground.
Okay. Number 7.
Bought that just for test.
Number 7, streetlight upgrades. And since your claim to fame is the city of lights, it'll be interesting to see that one on there. Okay. Number 8, street improvements, which is a duplication of your council's number 4. Okay. Number 10, West First Street project.
Let's get number 9.
All right, okay. Number 9, oh, okay, East 13th, that's a duplication of your number 7. Gotcha. Okay, good. 10, West First Street project.
Isn't that one a given to, isn't that what our project is? Chris, isn't our project West First Street
Yeah,
for
that's a
summer,
street
isn't that a
improvement.
given?
Yes, that's a given from K Avenue to R.
Okay, R, okay.
Oh, so number 12 has the exact wording, that we're looking for?
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
got a
so-
grant for that.
So both of, you will not be voting on 10 or 12, because that is one project and it's a given. Okay, so that one you'll not vote on. Okay. 11, Public Works Equipment, sweeper, dump truck, pickup, and loader. Okay, number 13, 4th Street, C Avenue to K Avenue. Okay. Number 14, milling projects. I think I know what that is, but what do we mean by that? What's,
So, any hot mix street, you can mill it down and then just overlay it.
okay, yep,
Curb and gutter usually stays intact,
yep.
so.
Okay, that's what I thought. Those are quite the machines, by the way, that grind that down. It's kind of interesting to watch it when they do it.
Right.
Okay. Number 15, update children's library furniture and add mobile shelving. Number 16, repair flagpole at the library. Number 17, install a firewall and the public Wi-Fi at the library, which is a pretty inexpensive project. Okay, and the last, number 18, purchase a book covering machine and supplies at the library. I didn't know they made such a machine. That's interesting. Okay. Department heads, council members, did we miss anything? Is there anything that should be on this list that is not on here?
Pat, if I could go back to number 7.
Number 7, yeah?
Yeah, street light upgrades, that should be traffic light upgrades.
Oh, it should be traffic lights. Okay. I would call it traffic signals.
Traffic signal standards, whatever.
Traffic signals upgrade, okay. So we're gonna modify number 7 to say traffic signals upgrade. Okay. All right. Any other corrections or changes?
Would it be appropriate to put all the libraries together in one item?
Well, I was gonna ask, would those be typically things that would be on the budget for the library for the upcoming fiscal year that you would just account in for the budget?
Especially the last 3 would be
Yeah, that's
normal.
why I was thinking the smaller things would normally just fall into the budget planning.
Yeah.
Go big or go.
It depends on,
I would hate for them to.
Yeah, 60 million.
Stick around.
on the depends on the grant they're requesting.
$40,000 one may or may not be, but that's your call.
I think the last 3 for sure.
Last 3 for sure,
Would be
yeah.
the budget.
Would be budget, yeah, 40, so those 3 would go in the budget and then update children's library for mobile shelving.
So we're gonna say,
I haven't ever attended one of these.
Oh, no,
so
you're
yeah.
fine.
it's fine,
Neither
no
have
problem.
I.
That's all your sheet said, but make your own right.
Kelly, I just want you to know right away though, whatever you want, you can forget about it, cause he's gonna take all your money anyway.
Sounds like it. I
Craig
should've
gets
been
everything.
As long as he don't take it all first.
Schedule your budget session ahead of both of us.
Yes.
And bring a PowerPoint.
We do love a good PowerPoint.
Maybe in last year, baby.
Sorry.
We need an IT guy right now.
Craig, I would not do the PowerPoint for them.
My wife can do it now.
Okay, any other corrections or changes? Okay, as before, I'm gonna give people the opportunity to do the sales pitch on any of these items, so council, I'm gonna give you the first opportunity. Is there any item on here that you wanna give your colleagues a sales pitch on, and why it's important that they put dots on it?
Can I ask, what does get rid of Hobart's for to you?
Why are you looking at me? Why would that be me? Why would that be me?
Okay, what does getting rid of Hobart's mean?
I didn't do it.
Anyone?
Wasn't me. More than me.
What are you looking at me for?
To be fair, he didn't actually say he didn't do it. He said, why would you assume I would do it?
Yeah.
I
What's a
don't
Hobart?
know. That's a character flaw in myself.
I don't know that
apologize.
that's something that we can necessarily.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Unless
I
we
did
have a contract, and I don't think we can do that until that contract is up.
Dad, cover your ears.
Is that a meat grinder, Mark?
Huh? Oh. Yeah. Yeah,
The mixer.
or a
Down the
tree
fire
limb
station.
grinder,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting your dots ready, is all I'm doing.
How many dots are we getting though
Yeah,
for this one? There's significantly.
Well,
more.
we'll talk about that here in a few minutes.
Well, I think the EMS building
Sorry.
is a good thing we need to get taken care of.
Agreed.
Okay, all right. Any other sales pitch anybody wants to put on any of these projects? Let me go down through my changes so everybody's on board with what I've done, corrections, okay. Going back to the council members list. Number one, the wastewater plant, that's a given, you will not vote on that, okay? Your number two is the same as the department head's, item, number 4, I believe, okay? 3 is on there, get rid of Halibut's. 4, street projects. 5, water main replacement, general improvements downtown, that's all on there. 7 is a given, you will not vote on 7. 8, the water plant stays on there, but it's $6 million. And the recreation project, swimming pool, stays on there, but we're more in the 8 to 12 million range. So that leaves the council members list with the 2 givens, we're down to 7, okay? Department head list, just to update it. Water plant, rec center, public safety building, that all matches up with what you got. New ones, of course, is City Hall is new. Number 5, the wastewater treatment plant, that's a given. New items, firing range, traffic control signals, street improvements, that's a duplication. East 13th Street's a given. The West First Street project, that's a given, you won't vote on that. Public Works equipment, that's a new item. 4th Street, that's a new item. Building projects would be new. We're gonna leave number 15 on there, children's library furniture. That'll stay on there as one item. But 15, the other 3 items, 16, 17, 18, they will come off and be talked about at budget time. So you will not vote on 16, 17, or 18. Did I get all the corrections? Okay.
Are we still making pitches, or are we not making, are we done with that?
Do you wanna make a pitch?
I do
Yeah,
want to make a pitch.
yeah, we're not
I
done,
mean,
go ahead.
well, obviously, I think, I don't, I have the Benton County Community Health Needs Assessment up, which I don't need to go through all of that stuff. I do think that obviously all of us think that all of our projects are important, and they all are.
Yeah.
I don't wanna drink poopy water, so I think that the new water plant is extremely important. I also think that everything that Ted and, his folks and the fire department do is extremely critical to the department, or to the city, and I also think that the things that we offer with the Parks and Rec department, considering that we're a veteran community, and that we're trying to draw people here to build a bigger tax base, is all quality of life amenities, and that's kind of what we're selling here too, so I think that all of those are important, which is kind of why we're sitting here too, because we have, like I said, people that have got important projects that are all going at the same time, so how we rank those and how we get them done is important, but, there's some pretty alarming facts in the new community health needs assessment that's just new this year versus 3 years ago, and things are not getting better in this county. They're getting worse, significantly worse. And so people in this community need a lot of the services that are offered through all of the departments here, so it's a pitch for all 3, but it's just throwing it out there.
Yep,
So.
okay. Also, one of the things when I see items this this expensive is I always have concern about what is called your general obligation debt capacity. And that is, at any given time, your debt capacity cannot exceed 5% of your assessed value. And where are we at today? 32%, I think you said?
I'm at 32%.
32%, so which is good, that's good.
That's good.
But you got some big ticket items here, so.
Well, at one point, man, it was down as low as like 19%, but when it was that low, the streets were not good.
Yes.
And there were a lot of capital projects that just simply needed to be done.
Yeah.
So I know low debt is great and all, but having good infrastructure is also important too.
Right.
And then it's that balancing
It's
act, you
better.
know.
And one of the things, you know, that capital improvements plan that you saw on the list over there, one of the things the capital improvements plan will do for you is show you where you're at on your debt capacity and where you're going. And at what point, you know, you should be really concerned. So if you do this project, now you're near your debt capacity. And the capital improvements plan will point that out to you and will help the council decide whether or not you can move ahead with some of these projects or not if you have the debt capacity. Because my guess is you don't have money in the bank, so you're gonna be issuing bonds to do this stuff.
Done that before.
Yeah. And all the more reason to make sure when you do these water and sewer projects, do not let a financial advisor tell you to do those with a general obligation bond so that they save interest rates. Yes, you can get a bond for those projects, and it would be lower interest rates, but you will have to use up your debt capacity to do it, and then you won't have any money available to do a public safety complex, because you're not gonna use water and sewer revenues for that, you're gonna issue a GO bond. So just be mindful of that when you go forward, is that debt capacity is pretty precious, and you gotta be careful how you use it. So, any other sales pitches before we start the voting process?
I'd like to see 4th Street in the near future, just because it's the semi route into town. Red Bride's been down that road twice. So yeah, it's the first thing you go down when you come into town. And, as far as the milling, I'd like to see 9th Avenue done, just because, like when Corey Nesbitt was with the ambulance, they had to stop on 4th Street, ask if all the IVs are in, to go down 9th Avenue. Well, that to me seems, yeah, a little ridiculous, that we should be able to do something like that. So,
Okay, good point.
those are my 2 cents for that.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. Your firing range, you want that indoor or outdoor?
That would be outdoor here,
Just outdoor?
Okay.
Just for you or open to the public?
it would be for the department.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's a lot of liability out there.
Okay. Any other questions? Sales pitches?
Traffic lights or stoplights, they're hard to see, especially for people that are coming into Vinton new
Yes.
to town. They're used to the bigger communities that have the arms that come out into the intersections, so you see where the stoplights are. I know we had, I think we had a vote within the community, was it last year?
Very informal.
Very informal, yes.
Not
To
scientific.
see if they want,
There's a poll.
Okay.
there was a poll, wanting to know if, you wanna keep the stoplights or
Yeah.
have them flashing or removed.
Okay.
I think, majority of people wanted them still there, so we can upgrade those, that'd be awesome.
Okay, all right.
Someone from another town just told me 4 days ago that they almost ran the lights because they didn't see them till they were on top of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got cars parked there,
Yeah.
inside there, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, as someone who's traveling, especially at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough at night sometimes. Yeah, okay.
I think I would put in at least half a pitch for a new city hall. Well, I agree with Matt, all of those bigger entities are important. Something needs to happen here, so if bigger new buildings are built elsewhere, maybe at least a remodel or some funds back to this building.
Okay.
I'd support that. I mean, we want something that the town's proud of. And, you want something that's functional, that's
You mean-
nice,
You mean
appearance and
not the
aesthetically.
former sheltered workshop? Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we, you want to make sure you understand what the project is, what it entails?
I do have one more pitch. I'm on the opposite end of that. I wanna see the infrastructure updated. I'm the one that has to work on it, or my guys have to work on it, and, a lot of them are either too small or they break. Just, get better quality water out there too. And as far as the water plant, I mean, I started out with just a small upgrade, and then, we was having, pressure issues all over town was kind of the reason that we, move forward with the whole new water plant. So, that wasn't all on me, but, I mean, it's probably something that needs done fairly soon, I guess, so.
Do you have a lot of 4-inch mains out there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is not with DNR.
Fire suppression, yeah.
They- You gotta have at least a 6-inch main out there for fire purposes.
But that's the most expensive part
Okay.
to replace is the infrastructure, so.
Okay, we are down to 14 items, what I come up with. 7 remaining on the council's list, and 7 basically are left over from the department heads, are brand new items that were not a duplication or are not on the list of givens. 14 items, typically I would give you 5 dots. Yeah, well, that's okay, that's fine. I can give you more, but there's a lot of big ticket items on here, so I would typically recommend you go with 5. Is everybody good with that? Now, I'm just gonna, just go with the one color, 5 green ones, and put your initials on those 5 green ones. Give me a minute to put the new sheets up there, and, Chris, if you could go around and get the green sheets out, and then Melissa, if you could take down these. Hey, before we take them down, any last minute items anybody want to take a picture of? Okay.
Green it is for everybody.
Just peel that one off, and then just put it over top, and just kind of stack them. Okay.
Get everybody some greens here.
Go out for a run or what? Yep, keeping my wellness up.
Yeah, right? Let's on it.
Coming out of town here, downtown.
Right.
Then you get the cruise.
This is a duplication.
Hey, don't come to
That,
But
that's
in focus of that,
That's pretty sad. Nice.
that's yeah, like that one you could go along with, because you're just taking it down 2 inches in length.
Right.
So you could do 8th Avenue from 4th Street all the way to 13th. Because you're not doing I don't want to say it's a big deal, but but that's what, right, but that's what, they told us when they did that.
Okay, I think I've got all the changes, so you go ahead, once again, department heads go in this first column, and council in the last.
Was it good for that
Yeah.
number of years?
Thank you.
If you don't stay on the schedule with folks,
Correct.
this is what happens. that First Street down, because eventually Third Street will have to get done. So you're gonna have to reroute them. That's kind of the idea behind Third
Peanut
Street.
butter.
Yes.
So that way, if you have to do Fourth Street, Third Street's not a fire jump.
And Third's been taken care of up there. And I heard anyone say they want Third Street back the way it used to be.
Well, Third Street.
Okay,
Third Street's
question.
embargoed, so semi-trucks can't do anything on that.
Right.
Right, are they both a given or what? I'm confused.
Right.
Yeah, wouldn't this still be a given?
I agree with you.
150 all the way down to
I agree.
Wouldn't water pit
Yeah, they'd have to
improvements
go
be
around
part of the
No.
fire?
This is the sewer. This is pure water. Totally different things.
Next on the list.
Both very important.
Very important.
Both are very important, but
Well, it was, I agree with you. I think Fourth Street's, first is a given. First is a
First
given.
Street needs to be done first.
Well, yeah, but that's already on the given list.
You not want me to know? Feel free. Feel free.
Give him a dot once.
Sorry. So down the floor, yeah.
It's me. Like, is that my initial down there?
Right, I had to get closer because I was, otherwise I would have double the day.
Is he smart? You got an idea?
I think somebody would want to buy my last.
Yeah.
sticker. Maybe Matt might want to buy
Yeah.
it.
I bet so.
That's why they're in the same.
Get in trouble, yell down. All I need.
You better not do that. I don't think you're thinking quite right yet.
Here.
That would be weird. I feel like that would be weird.
We've been shocked too many times today.
Seventh-day Adventist clothing related place, are they closing or
Around there. Now, is that the free Tuesdays or what is that?
Of course, I vote for my own stuff.
Nobody wastes their green dots for getting rid of
nobody put any green dot for nobody. Oh, wow.
Are you gonna buy your equipment to do that, or do you just rent it? Just have them come in and do it? Yeah.
We went for it last year, first
Yeah.
week of January.
That'd be a lot better than.
We went
I'm
to
just-
Fort Myers, and sadly,
That's embarrassing to
we
me
went to
that
Fort Myers.
the ambulance has to stop to put in an IV, like,
Oh, right.
Aren't we a little better?
Okay, once again, anybody wants to get a picture?
I'm also street
These are all up.
Well,
Everybody
yeah.
up there except.
I mean,
But I'm like, if I
Still got one more
was
to
in
go.
the need of getting an ID
On the internet.
and getting to the hospital at the same time,
I can send pictures.
I would definitely want that street okay.
yeah.
No,
Big job.
I don't think
I
it's
don't know, I
good for
sent you a
you.
text today, so
Worked
I
like
can't be in
phone.
full vacation mode.
Everybody's kinda thinking the same.
Picking on everybody.
Stop it.
All over town now.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Okay, everybody got their dots up here? Okay, from the council's perspective, strong support for the EMS Public Safety Building. There's 5 of you there. And then 4 of you on the water main replacement program. I'm looking for at least 4 more. The water plant got 5 of you there as well. So those are your top 3 items. And down here, the 4th Street, K Avenue to C Avenue to K Avenue, that's got 4 council members on it as well. So those would be your top 4 projects. 4th Street and water plant, the water main improvements, and public safety building. Now, the other interesting thing is, if there's 3 votes here, like the Halberts thing, you got 3 votes there, a 5-member council, that's majority. Okay,
Well,
so,
there's 6.
or you're 6-member, okay. Bud's gonna break the tie then. Okay. So, but yeah, so I'm looking for anything with 4 or more when we start the ranking process, so, okay. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Let's go to the last 2 exhibits, and that has to do with teamwork and communication. We're not gonna rank these, we're just gonna talk about it. What I will need to know as I go down through these is there any item on there that you don't think it really needs to be there? Maybe it's a kind of a given, you're gonna do this anyway, or maybe it's not something that the council as a whole would support. So I would strike it off there. And obviously, I'm gonna give you a chance to add any items too. So, but I will take these one by one, give you an opportunity to you know, comment or ask questions about it. If I don't hear any comments, I'll do like I was before, I'll just keep right on going. So, under Exhibit I is the first one. That's items that came in from the mayor and council. There was 11 items. Number 1, work with the understanding that council members will not publicly share negative opinions of other council members, which was that little dissertation I gave you about running into people at the grocery store. So I'm glad to see that you recognize the value of, you know, this is a group and you need to support each other, so that's good. Number 2, annual special meetings and work sessions where the council can evaluate the progress made towards city goals. One of the handouts I have for you is something that I will highly recommend that you do, and that is what I call a quarterly update. And this is what I used to do in Anamosa. I would take the goal that you've identified and list it here, and then I would list the progress that has been made on that goal in the last 3 months, and an update of where you stand on that particular goal. And then every 3 months, you review this and say, hey, we're making good progress on this. If we're not making good progress, what's the holdup? Are we waiting on an engineer, or what is the holdup here that we're not moving forward? Because, and the other thing I'm going to recommend that you do is you do what is on the pink sheet over there, and that is what I call an action plan. So you take those top 4 items that you have up there, and you prepare an action plan. Very simple. All it is you break it into steps, because each one of those items is going to require a lot of work. And so you got to break it into smaller pieces. And this particular one I did for Cresco was 11 different steps in the process. You identify who takes the lead on that step. Is it an engineer? Is it your city administrator? Is it your public works director? Who is it that takes the lead? Identify that person, and then identify when you hope they start it, and then you identify when you complete that step. If you don't do these two things, you have wasted your time tonight. It's a total waste of your time if you do not do these two things, because I know, I hear people say, oh, we've done this before, and 3 months from now, everybody forgets about it. Not if you do that. If you do both of those things, you will have, you will keep things moving forward, okay? So I highly recommend you do those two things, and that's why I liked to see this number 2 on here, because you could do a special work session or a special meeting every 3 months and monitor the progress on some of these big projects that you've got going.
So, Pat, can I ask a question in
Yeah.
that? So whose job then is it to, like, maintain that list?
I typically get it as city administrator, so in this case, I would say Chris would maintain, the list of quarterly updates, and then all the department heads need to be part of this. If there's a project on there that's your department's project, then you and Chris and probably you, Michelle, would sit down and put together one of these action plans for each goal. Yeah, so that, and then you would bring that back to the council and say, we've kind of brainstormed this, in order to get this done, we need to do this, this, and this in this order, and bring it back to the council, and then formally approve that as well. Just like I would tell you to formally approve your goal setting report. Yeah. So this sheet is a team effort. Okay, but Chris is the one that has control and tabs on all these projects, so every quarter, it would be up to him to put it on the council agenda and say, hey, here's an update on where we're at.
Or ask the clerk politely to do so.
Yeah. In fact, my report will tell you, okay, looking 3 months out, these are the dates that I would recommend you flag your next agenda. So I actually put exact dates on there so that, hey, I gotta remember on that date, we're gonna have this on the agenda. Yeah. Okay. Number 3, an orientation process for new council members to include an overall city plan, projects currently in progress, and so forth. Great idea. I just sent to Chris and Michelle today a orientation handout that I prepared for the, for IMFY. Oh, I'm working with another, I'm working with another Michelle.
I have a sister named Michelle.
Oh, do you?
And so it happens all the time.
In fact, I just talked to her on the way over. She's in Brighton, Iowa.
Don't even think about it.
Okay. Anyway, I just sent that today to look at in terms of laying out what an orientation process would look like. So I think that's great, because those of you who are new to the council, I suspect you felt a little overwhelmed when you first came on board, because it's a lot to comprehend in Order City.
Well, we try to send everybody to MLA.
Yeah.
If they can attend.
That's a great start, yeah. Yeah, that's a great start, so, okay. Number 4, encourage more community involvement. I do have a handout over there on that as well. It's a sheet that I've seen other cities, where I've seen them reach out to the public and try and keep them informed of what the city's doing. The only item on there, the only item not on there that I see cities doing, and that is social media. I didn't put that on there. I'm kind of old school, and social media kind of scares me to death when it comes to city government, because, man, if you don't monitor that and correct all the errors that come out there, it can get carried away. So I recognize that a lot of people put a lot of value in that, and that's fine. Use social media, but I'm a little hesitant, because I can tell you some real horror stories where it got out of hand. So. But there's other ideas over there as well. Okay. Number 5, only community members at committee meetings. Now, do you folks view committee meetings as public meetings? Like, could I come to your committee meetings?
Yes.
Okay, so they're public meetings. The dilemma you have is, if you're a council member and you're not on that committee, and maybe it's something you're really interested in, you probably want to go to that meeting. So I'm not sure how you tell fellow council members you can't come to a meeting when the citizen's going to be there. So I don't know, but I see the dilemma, because when fourth council member shows up, now you got a quorum of the council, and technically that needs to be listed as a full-blown council meeting. I ran into the same issue in Anamosa when I first got there. And I had council members saying to me, well, I wanna go to that committee meeting, why can't I go? Well, I said, well, you show up and it's a quorum. And, or I've had some people say, well, I really want to be on that committee, but the mayor wouldn't put me on it. And it just irritates me. I finally said to the folks, stop, okay? No more committees. Only committees of the whole. The entire council comes together as a committee and goes through a number of different things on the same night. And any council member that can be there, in fact, we would like all council members to be there. It's advertised, posted as a committee of the whole meeting. There's an agenda, but it's not like a formal council. It's more like this. You don't have votes. There's no motions. There's no resolutions. There's no ordinances. But it's an information sharing of the entire council at the same time. The reason I liked it was I had a challenge in that I need to get the same information to all the council members at the same time. And when it's only the committee members there, then they're hearing it first, and then they go out and start talking about it, and then fellow council members hear about it later, and then they're offended. But if you're all together at the same time, same meeting, everybody gets the same information, and they hear the same presentations from department heads or whatever. That was my solution in Anamosa.
So you did away with your committee?
Did away with all the committees. One committee, committee of the whole, does all that stuff. I don't know if that's the answer here for you or not, but it was the answer for me in Anamosa years ago, because I experienced that same exact thing. Because you may not be on a committee, but you're really interested in it, and you want to be there. You want to see the discussion from the beginning, rather than hearing about it at your council meeting. And so, if that's an issue for you folks going forward, that might be an option for you to consider. Just do away with them and just have a committee of the whole. Actually, there's fewer meetings for the staff. Instead of going to all these committee meetings, they're gonna have one committee of the whole meeting. Typically, what I see done is they meet the off night. Now, you meet on
The second and fourth Thursdays.
second and fourth Thursday. So maybe your committee of the whole meetings might be on the first and third Thursday. You know, maybe once a month. You could try it out and set them up so that you do them once a month. And then you don't have to worry about attending on any of those other committee meetings, because you're all gonna be focused on that Thursday, that particular Thursday, or whatever day you pick. So, for what it's worth, I throw that out there because I knew exactly where this was coming from. Because I'm sure when they show up, now you got a quorum. So. Number 6, better communication prior to the meetings. I'm assuming you get packets, right?
Yes.
Do you get packets prior to the committee meetings?
And council meetings.
And council meeting, okay. Okay. Does anyone want to elaborate on what we need to do better? Is there a suggestion? Do you get the packets in time? Do you want a different kind of packet, or?
They get it electronically and in paper.
You go both ways. Wow. A lot of cities don't even do that anymore. They just electronically and that's it. Wow.
That's what I'd prefer.
Yeah.
They have it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I like finding the ominous folder though on my porch, it's
Right.
really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Well, if you're like me, you can like marking it up and highlighting
At
too.
least it's not dropped off by someone in a police car now. That's a plus. I mean, thank you. I'm sure the neighbors weren't concerned at all.
I like to have police going by my street, stopping and saying hello.
No, it's just in the code enforcement.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Well, not hearing any suggestions, then, if you, maybe that should be something at a committee of the whole meeting we talk about. Is there better ways to get the information out to the council? So maybe it needs to be modified, but I'm not hearing anything right now.
Well, we used to get them only 24 hours before the meeting.
Oh,
Which
ooh,
was
that's
not
tough.
enough time.
No, that's-
Then we got Melissa,
Yes,
Thank you, God.
We have a
And the
process.
idea is,
Yeah.
you review your packet, if you have questions, you call Chris.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's a typical good procedure.
You know, or on the budget items or
Yeah,
bills, you highlight it. you know, So
that's
maybe
good,
that's part of it, I don't know.
yeah.
But
Well,
that's
that-
why we started getting them so early.
That's a great thing, because if council members, if you have a question, you know, a lot of times it's a very easy thing to do, and you just call Chris and say, Chris, why is this on the budget, or can you look this up? If it requires a little time, he can do a little research prior to the council meeting, which will then make your meetings go a lot faster, rather than Chris having to say, you know, I don't know the answer to that, I'm gonna have to work on that, and now you gotta table it. But if he knew ahead of time, he could look it up and have it ready for you. So, okay. Number 7, council staff does a good job of reminding council what needs to be finished up, or discussions of things. Any assistance on making sure that the council finishes things would be helpful. That's why a lot of that council agendas have what they call the old business category. You know, these are things you talked about that we haven't decided yet. Okay. Number 8, support all decisions made by the city council. The thing I talked about earlier, how critical that is. Because you will occasionally be on the losing end sometimes, and you might be on the winning end a lot more times, but occasionally you'll be on the losing end, and so much of it depends on how you respond to that or react to that. Number 9, need to move from emotional reactions to factual and supportive responses. Okay. Number 10, create timelines on projects and identify people responsible to complete the task. That's what this is all about. That's exactly what that was done for. Okay. Number 11, create pros and cons on decisions and focus on the priorities and immediate needs. Well, you pretty well identified tonight what the priorities are. And so this is gonna be very useful to the staff, so they know where to focus their time. Any questions or anything on this list that you want to change? Okay, my last exhibit, and I'll let you get out of here. Okay. We're doing on time, by the way.
It's almost 8 o'clock.
Okay, we're in pretty good shape. Okay, now these are items that came in from the department heads, okay? I'm gonna go down through these very quickly, and if anybody has any questions, you can, flag me down, we can talk about it. Number 1, review council packets thoroughly and seek understanding from the department heads. Once again, call Chris, he can refer it to the department head, maybe the department head gets back to you on something, so, okay. 2, fewer instances of uncomfortable decisions being kicked down the road. Easy to do, some of them are tough, yeah, they are tough. Number 3, require League of Cities Municipal Leadership Academy training for elected officials. Well, unfortunately, it's not a legal requirement. might be a good idea someday, I don't know, but I always tell council, you expect your employees to get their continuing education. People in water and wastewater are required by law to get their continuing education. And most professions out there have continuing education programs. Well, this is your opportunity for continuing education, your Municipal Leadership Academy, so. And the league does other things throughout the year as well. The conference, the league conference is part of that, so. The other thing I would say to you is if you have a difficult time getting to the academy, does everybody have one of these?
I'm sure they all have one of them.
This is your Bible, okay? New council members, if you haven't read this, now's the time, because this is City Government 101. And it's written in terms that's really easy to follow and understand. And I know it's a lot to read in one setting, but I tell people, maybe make it a goal to read 1 or 2 chapters a week until you've gone through the entire book. And then, once you've gone through the entire book, when subjects come up, you're gonna remember, yes, I saw a page or 2 in this handbook that talks about that very issue. So, it's a great tool. Actually, it's a great thing to have on file at the library too, I think. So, for anybody that's thinking about running for council, I always tell people, before you run for council, read that book. so you know what you're committing to. Now, the other thing you can do is the Iowa League of Cities has a great website. And if you go to iowaleague.org, go under resources. And under resources, there's multiple categories of things that will probably cover just about any topic you're gonna have at the council meeting. So there's articles been written on all kinds of different things, from police and fire and public works and administration. There's a long list. So just go to that website sometimes and just kind of familiarize yourself with what's out there. Because it's there, it's free to you to use. And I use it. I've been in city government 48 years. I still go to that website and still look up stuff because they keep updating those articles that are in there. And there's a lot of people that contribute to them. There's about, I'd say there's about 4 or 5 of them on there that I have personally written that were in league magazines at one time or another, and then they've modified them and put them on there. So,
I know a couple of them. You call me sometimes about them.
Yeah.
When you're writing them, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, there's one there that I just wrote a few years ago that I'm gonna work on tomorrow, and that's Brighton's got a big problem with their fire department. And George Oster and I wrote the one under publications on fire departments. And so I'm gonna use a lot of what's in there tomorrow when I'm in another community. So there's 2 ways then that folks that you can kind of stay current on what's going on. Number 4, ask questions. Always a good thing to do. I tell people, there's no such thing as a dumb question, you know, because more than likely there's somebody else who's got the same question, and you've got the courage to ask it. So don't hesitate to ask the question. That's how we all learn. Number 5, take the time to understand the issues at hand. Okay. Learn the background, learn the process. There's a lot of articles in here and on the website, the league, about different processes that you follow. Number 7, shared technology used by city council members and department heads. Does anybody want to elaborate on that one a little bit more, what we've got in mind there?
That was me.
Okay.
Kind of directed at council packet information.
Okay.
You know, we can put, like everybody using a shared drive for meeting information. You know, bids can live out there, plans can live out there.
Okay.
As a reference point.
Okay. Good. Any questions so far? Okay, number 8, goals and objectives always have good intentions. Sometimes the council gets frustrated at taking too long to get info or decide on things. Once again, I come back to that regular update on how you're doing on your goals and objectives, so that if there are projects that are maybe not where you want them to be, you talk about why we're not there. You know, maybe there's circumstances beyond your control that will, you know, like tell you why maybe we're behind on some things. So, number 9, leave the personal agendas at home. Okay. Number 10, make and approve city policies for the city and not individuals. Interesting point, because every time you pass a policy ordinance, it applies to everybody across the board. So you got to be thinking in terms of, you know, this is for the good of the community, or the good of the city as a whole. So it's an interesting point. Follow the chain of command. Okay. Don't jump to conclusions. Get the facts first. Okay. Number 13, support the majority vote, even if the vote didn't go your way. Number 14, don't be vindictive to staff for doing their jobs. That's why I kind of pointed out your code enforcement guy, because that's a tough job he's got sometimes. And so that's why I kind of said you want to have his back, because he will be criticized by people, I can tell you that. Number 15, continued support for city department heads. I was happy to see that word continued. So that's telling me you've been pretty supportive of department heads, and they appreciate that and hope it continues. So, number 16, we kind of already talked about tonight, and that's conduct CIP planning and training. Like I said, I've got a handout on that over there. You're welcome to use. And I would recommend, if you do capital improvements planning, you're council, you're involved in this process. You're going to be involved in it from the standpoint you're going to recommend projects, which you've got some up there tonight. And also, I will I will challenge you to kind of do a ranking again of all the projects that are listed, so. So you're gonna be involved in the beginning to end, ultimately, when the plan is done, you're gonna formally approve it. So it's critical that you be a part of the process early and throughout the entire process. Once again, it'll be a good topic for committee of the whole meetings, if you do a capital improvements plan. 17, continue assisting department heads with the delivery on the projects. 18, engage with the employees. Kind of 17 and 18 kind of go hand in hand. 19, visit the departments and the buildings. I always recommend councils, this is not a good time of year, dudes, because we don't have a lot of daylight hours to work with, but I tell you, May, June, and July is a great time to schedule a tour where council members all come together as a committee of the whole, and then just get in the vehicles and go to all the different sites. Go to the wastewater plant, go to the water treatment plant, go to the public works building.
Go to the airport.
Go to the airport. Go to all those facilities that maybe you've never been to before, and then make sure the department is there to kind of give you a quick tour and answer any questions you've got. So another thing I've seen done is if you have major projects that you know you're moving forward on, go to the actual site of the project and kind of point out, you know, what some of the challenges will be if you do that project. So I think that's a great idea to kind of get that on your schedules to go visit the buildings and departments. I served on the Jones County Board of Supervisors, and that's one of the things that the Jones County engineer did for the board was once a year we all got in a vehicle and we drove around and looked at all those projects, and we drove to actual buildings, got out and looked at the equipment because he was telling us we need to replace that piece of equipment. He pointed out to us, say, this is why I want this piece of equipment replaced. And just that sort of thing is really helpful to you when you come back here and you're trying to make a decision. So all good ideas. And lastly, number 20, training of new department heads on city policies and the budget process. So anytime a new department head comes on the scene, and that budget process, you've never been through it like you've never been through this before, so it'll be good for you to kind of have somebody kind of take you through what the expectations are. Okay.
We just throw people to wolves here,
Feels like it's
Just be
on
your
time.
time, Kelly, have time. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah. So, is there any items on either one of these lists where you'd say, you know, I'm not sure if we really need that on there? Otherwise, it will become part of the report. Obviously, we don't rank these, but if there's any item on here that you want to modify or change in any way, now's the time to let me know so I can make those changes. Or if there's anything I've overlooked, or you've overlooked, that we should add to this, either one of these two lists. So.
Yeah. Sometimes with councils, have you ever been in a situation or seen a situation where councils can meet too much?
Meet too much?
Yeah.
Occasionally, yeah.
I feel like I have.
What happened, the bad thing about that is that you burn council members out.
Yes.
I always appreciate the fact you folks are basically volunteers. I know you get a stipend for doing this, but you're not doing this for the money. You can make more money doing other things. So you're basically community volunteers that have the courage and the guts to put your name on the ballot and step up to the plate to take these jobs. And I really respect that, because I can tell you, when given the opportunity to run for supervisor, I said, no, I don't need that. So you folks don't have to be here. You could be home watching TV, and I really respect that. And so we don't want to burn you out.
Right. And that's my big fear with as many meetings as they have.
Yeah. One of my handouts over there is running effective meetings.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse than going to a meeting and then leaving the meeting thinking, oh, that was a waste of my time. Why did I go to this meeting? So if you do have meetings, you want to have good, effective, productive meetings. So when you leave the meeting saying, that was worth my time. So that might be a good topic for a work session. How many times are we meeting? No?
Have another meeting about
What is this, a university, man?
That's a valid question, you know, and that's a question for the council to think about. Are we meeting too often? Are we expecting too much of you folks? Now, I know, I had a council member like this. He'd meet every night if you want, because he just lived and breathed this stuff. But I would say 95% of the council members I've known over the years, is like,
Sound like Rod?
please don't schedule a meeting unless we really need it.
Rod would be here every night.
I think he would.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, how much he loves it.
Okay. Any other comments or observations before we wrap this up? My last question is, when you came here tonight, you said, boy, I hope we talk about this, I hope we discuss this and cover this. I don't want you to leave unless we've got everything that you wanted to talk about covered. Is there anything we haven't covered so far that would be good to have a discussion on before we adjourn?
Don't be afraid now.
Hearing nothing, that is everything I've got for you folks. We will do a draft of this summary of what we talked about tonight. We'll update these exhibits. I will let Chris do a quick review of my draft and make sure I didn't miss anything. And then we'll send it out to all of you as a draft. And it'll be on a future agenda where you will look it over and say, that's what we talked about.
And you'll pass, you'll vote on it.
Yep, and we formally approve it. Yep. And that is your statement then to your citizens. This is our game plan going forward. This is what we hope to accomplish. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you were a good group to work with. I enjoyed it very much. So, great community. I've always enjoyed coming here. So,
Joy happy.
all right, thank you very much. Good night, folks, and have a happy holidays. And by the way, those handouts I referenced are over on that table. You're welcome to grab one before you leave if you'd like.
You can file them.
I know my role.